Imagine you're an author. You have one successful trilogy under your belt. Your series was dark, tense, challenging science fiction with detailed world building and a rich cast of characters. The final book came out in 2019. During the pandemic years, you found you couldn't get motivated to write in your usual celebrated style. Instead, you found yourself craving writing a funny, light-hearted, and fast-paced romance novel. So you wrote that book and published it. In fact, it came out a few days ago, and on the whole, feedback has been very positive. But perhaps against your better judgment, you want to see for yourself what people really thought of it. You check a couple of the main book review websites, and everything seems as you'd expect. Generally very positive, with the odd person who didn't get it or was a little mean. Comes with the territory. And you're now checking a third place, a newer but popular app for readers. You open your books page, start scrolling down to find the reviews when you're stopped dead in your tracks. Your heart sinks. You're confused, horrified even. Just below the cover image, you find content warnings, fat phobia, ableism, transphobia. Your book features none of these. You purposefully made it funny and light with lovable characters. There's some mild conflict between them, but nothing that features these tags. The more you look, the angrier you become. The content warnings were submitted as part of readers' reviews, and these readers are lying. Why would they do such a thing? You know that these reviews will make people scared to read your book, and you are furious. Imagine something else with me. You've just finished reading a book by one of your favorite authors. You were obsessed with their debut science fiction trilogy and were excited to see them trying something different, romance. You were confident that their talent wasn't confined to any one genre, and you were correct. This book was great, and just what you needed after years of being locked up alone due to the pandemic. The book was so fun, funny, light-hearted. You fell in love with the characters. To show support, you go to leave reviews on all of the main book review websites. It's 5 stars from you across the board. After submitting your first review, you plan to just copy and paste it into all of the other places, but one website gives you pause. It has a section that none of the others have. Would you like to add any content warnings? You hesitate. The book was so feel-good, but there was one time you felt a flicker of discomfort. It was something the protagonist said to a friend as they met for coffee. "Wow, you've lost weight. You look fantastic." A compliment, a positive comment on the surface. You relive how you felt as you read those words. You were triggered, sent back to your own weight loss struggle, and how you were only made to feel beautiful once the scales started heading down. You hesitate. Isn't it too extreme to tag the book as fat-phobic? You know this writer. You've seen all of their interviews. You're sure they're not fat-phobic and didn't think anything of the comment. But that's the problem. Some words are harmful only to a particular group of people. Those outside of the group may not even know that the potential for harm is there. But what's the impact of such a label on the author? Would it open them up to attack from the readers and the media who are often quick to jump to conclusions? But you also want to protect your fellow readers. While this one statement triggered you, it could send somebody else into a spiral. Thinking of that possibility is all you need to come to your decision. You select the fat phobia tag under the minor warnings section and add it to your review. But this story isn't just about the author and the reader. There's a third party. Step into my shoes. Imagine you're the creator of the book review website that allows content warnings. I was proud when the Storygraph launched this feature. People spoke about how it made our product a must-have. We made them feel safe. We gave them another tool that made picking their next perfect book even more likely. But after all that positivity, I wake up one random morning to find out that we are under attack. A group of well-known authors and their supporters are upset. They're saying things like, everything highlighted in red literally does not exist in the book, and looking at this was actually kind of horrific. This is what happens when people build features and don't think about all of the side effects. Remove this feature, it's doing more harm than good. I feel sick to my stomach as the hundreds and thousands of likes and retweets roll in. How did it come to this? My co-founder and I had worked hard on the content warnings feature, building it out step by step with the community, with painstakingly detailed customer research, and now we felt abandoned. All those people who'd backed us, helped us to build it, supported our decisions. It felt like they'd disappeared and left us alone to be devoured by the angry mob of the internet. As the solo web developer, I started to feel personally attacked. Even worse, a contingent of authors from underrepresented groups are pointing out that they are being disproportionately targeted in this matter. They're pointing out how they already have a harder time getting their books into the hands of readers. They're already susceptible from harsher reviews from those that just don't get it and hold their books to a higher standard. And now, with our content warnings feature, we've equipped everyone with yet another tool to harm these groups of authors. Yet another tool that reviewers can use to gatekeep and prevent others from accessing books that make them feel uncomfortable. And this aspect makes me feel 10 times worse. I yearn for authors to be on our side once more. However, simply removing the feature wasn't an option. Giving in to the mob and complying with their demands in order to appease them sets a dangerous precedent. Eventually, once you're perceived as lacking principles or values, you'll alienate everyone. Moreover, this feature was incredibly popular. We'd received extensive feedback about its effectiveness in protecting readers. And so we had to weigh the potential harm done to readers picking up a book that they maybe should have avoided against the potential harm done to authors resulting from erroneous or misleading tags or those that lacked context. So what were we to do? The question at hand wasn't really about a feature on a web app. The question was more fundamental than that. Whose side were we on? The author or the reader? Who were we going to protect? The creator or the consumer? We were caught in the middle. We loved authors. We wanted them to feel respected, heard, and appreciated. But we were built for readers. We wanted our readers to feel valued, included, and safe. And there was also a third component. Irrespective of any side or person, we wanted to be a source of truth, a place that both readers and authors could trust. In this case, what is the truth? What is the truth where content warnings are concerned? Before our feature, there was no easy way to see all of the content warnings tagged on a book on any review website or app. Instead, readers had to sift through reviews, of which there could be tens of thousands or more, and hope that their triggers would be mentioned somewhere. What determined whether a potential trigger was mentioned? Sometimes it was something glaringly obvious, and other times it was far subtler, something picked up on based off of a reader's unique perspective. What if you were someone who didn't like to read reviews before going into a book for fear of spoilers, but you were sensitive to a range of content? Tough. And you'd better hope that someone with a similar life experience to yours had reviewed the book, and thought to mention content that they found triggering. All we were trying to do was take the current situation and make it better for readers. Review sites have existed for decades. You rarely see an author complaining about a handful of one-star reviews. They understand it comes with the territory. Not everybody will like your book, and not everybody will have the same experience reading it. So why was this content warnings case so different? And that's when we realized that when it came to words and word choices and how they were interpreted, it wasn't just about the words themselves. It was about how they were presented. So instead of changing or removing the words, we decided to play with their presentation on the page and see if that could better communicate where the content warnings had come from, what they meant, and why they were there. Using the hundreds of tweets we'd seen, my co-founder and I spent hours discussing a potential solution. But just like with the launch of the content warnings feature itself, we knew that our proposed changes might not have the desired effect. After all, we were reviewing the feedback based on our own limited perspectives. And so we pitched our ideas to the community, iterated on them based on the responses, and then I got my head down to implement the changes. Instead of listing all of the content warnings for a book as one long list, we decided to show only the top 3 within each category, the ones that passed a certain threshold. And we added a clear subtitle, which showed up before any of the content warnings were read, so that the context was immediately clear, submitted by users as part of their reviews. It was also important to clarify where each tag had come from. So we let users click through on any of the tags and see each review that had used it. These were all relatively small user interface and user experience changes to display the same information in a different way, but it made all of the difference. Now we weren't shutting down any one unique perspective, but we were also making it clear to readers exactly where the information had come from and equipping them with the tools to make their own decision. We also gave the authors some space. We introduced the concept of author-approved content warnings, where authors could submit official warnings and add extra context. We released the changes within 24 hours, and they were incredibly well received. But enough of imagining being in someone else's shoes for now. Let's put yours back on. What would you have done? Who would you choose to protect? And how do you communicate your choice? While the scenario that we walked through is all about books and authors and their readers, the central question isn't about that at all. It's all about how you play with and present your words. Whoever you are, whomever you're communicating with. You could be presenting a paper, writing an email, or even giving feedback to a friend. It's not enough to just consider your audience at a high level. Which words do you choose? How do you present them? The way you play with your words can make all of the difference. So let's go back to the author. It's 6 months later, and though you're not fully recovered from the content warning saga, you think you're ready to embark on your next writing project. Your tweet about the issue blew up, mainly because it caused other authors to go and check out their pages on the same website, and a bunch saw similar things, made up content warnings. A lot of readers backed you, liking, retweeting, commenting, attacking that website. You felt good. But then you started to get other responses. Some were nasty, attacking you. Others had a different tone. One tweet in particular stuck out. I love all your books, including this, but when Jem says you've lost weight, you look fantastic, it took me back to feeling like I wasn't beautiful or worthy when I was overweight. I know you didn't want me to feel this way, but I had to warn others. This tweet, and other similar ones, made you stop and think. It never crossed your mind how a seemingly common compliment could mean anything other than a positive thing. While you still felt like some of the tags were downright wrong or a reach at best, Unless you talk to each reviewer, you won't know what compelled them to add each tag. And just like the fat phobia one, you suspect that there are likely more surprises, more unsuspecting triggers hidden within your very own words. The most important thing is that you now have a lot more empathy for the whole situation. But how do you approach this next book? You could audit your writing, editing the text to reduce the risk of triggering content, but you know that's not really the answer. Given the range of lived experiences, is it ever possible to write something of substance without triggering somebody? Instead, you decide to come to terms with the fact that all you can do is try your best to be careful, removing content that may be triggering and isn't needed to move the story along. But no matter how hard you try, you can't protect everybody from your words. You're not even aware of the full suite of things they need protecting from. It would be a fool's errand to try, and your work would likely suffer as a result. Nobody wins. The content warning scenario shows that the same words read by different people at different times of their lives, presented in different ways, could have as many distinct interpretations as there are people reading them. All you can do is listen, be open to different perspectives, and give it your best. So you take a deep breath and begin to write. Thank you.